India has already hit the E20 milestone 5 years ahead of target. Ethanol blending in petrol is now around 20%, helping reduce crude oil imports, save foreign exchange, and support farmers and distilleries. But the next phase of ethanol story may be much larger. The government has proposed regulatory changes that could pave the way for E85 and even E100 fuels through flex fuel vehicles, or FFVs, which can run on much higher ethanol blends. The opportunity is significant. At E20, India consumes about 1100 to 1200 crore liters of ethanol annually for fuel blending. But installed ethanol capacity is already close to 2000 crore liters and could reach 2400 crore liters by FY27. That's creating a supply surplus. In fact, demand growth is now increasingly dependent on higher ethanol blends and faster adoption of flex fuel vehicles. Without that, industry utilization could remain stuck at 65 to 75% despite massive capacity creation. For India, higher blending means lower crude oil imports and greater energy security. For ethanol producers, it could unlock a new growth cycle. But challenges remain, from fuel distribution infrastructure and storage to consumer adoption and vehicle readiness. On Deep Dive, we explore whether India has built too much ethanol capacity, or is E85 the next growth trigger that unlocks demand. Joining me now is Dr. Pramod Chaudhary, who is the founder chairman of Praj Industries. Dr. Chaudhary, thank you very much for joining us today. Sir, India has achieved E20 5 years ahead of schedule. The government is trying to now move towards E85 and E100 and flexi-fuel policy. How do you see this move and how prepared is the industry?
It's a very interesting approach you have taken, because the awareness among the public at large is very limited. And your efforts to bring that awareness through this dialogue is, I think, going to be very useful for the public at large, for all stakeholders. Okay. Having said that India has achieved E20, and the roadmap shows that they're going to move to E85 and E100. So these are very important milestones in going forward. Other aspect of the ecosystem is value co-product valuation, and that is going to play an important role, because in the industry, if you want to really absorb the end product price, these are the important steps, which I'm sure they will also get proper significant recognition of in your evaluation. So I think it's a very right move, and the roadmap will be very, very interesting and important for the country to become self-sufficient in terms of self-reliance. Most importantly, the Swadeshi fuel will become very, very important. This is my opinion, and Praj is working towards that continuously for the last 40 years.
How do you look at, sir, the current industry capacity at this point in time? For the last 5 years, we have been aggressively adding capacities. Many distilleries are adding capacities, and you're helping them in setting up those capacities as well. From an industry point of view, how do you look at the capacity at this point in time?
I think the capacity is definitely more than sufficient for E20 blending for all the vehicles, or even it can go up to E30. But for E85, industry has to really add some more capacity, where the 85% of ethanol in biofuels will be an important milestone. Or for that matter, E100. The other sector which is opening up is two-wheelers. So far, two-wheelers have been taking only E20, but now two-wheelers will start taking higher blend or higher consumption. And both put together, there will be definitely demand for capacity enhancement. That's the way we look at it.
Interesting, sir. You spoke about two-wheelers there. Before I go into segmentation and which segment will lead that consumption, just wanted to get a perception from you from the point of view of ethanol production as well. Today, a large part of it is done through sugar. Tomorrow, you're talking of grain-based, and there are other variety through which you can produce ethanol. Where do you see the maximum, ethanol production coming from? Is it going to diversify itself from sugar to other grain, corn, and others?
Sir, a very important and valid point. The feedstock is going to be a very major challenge, and we have to side by side handle on that part. and Praj is engaged into that effort also. So use of grains, starch-based raw materials, has been one of the first steps we started about 4-5 years back. Now we are also looking at various new products with a co-plantation of some sugary substance, and that is going to add to the capacity also. For example, sweet sorghum, which is a combination of sorghum and the sweet part of it comes from the stalks. So both put together, and we have started intercropping patterns on the same land with the similar kind of irrigation water. We can really go for higher capacity generation of feedstock. So there are very many things are going on. I don't know whether this time is sufficient, but these are the various aspects which we are looking at seriously.
Interesting. And at this point in time, if I'm looking at some of the numbers, sir, while we at E20 we consume somewhere around 1100 to 1200 crore liters of ethanol, the capacity at this point in time is far exceeding that consumption. Do you see there is a supply glut which is coming in because of that increased capacity, and when do you see the next round of capex to increase capacity?
See, your observation is very valid for some portion, but not throughout. See, the capacity E20, we have achieved it much ahead of time, and that created temporarily glut. Glut is not right word, but temporary uptake was a little limited. But going forward, it is already getting stabilized with E30 or E25 and E85, and I'm sure there will be substantial capacity. At least some 40% extra capacity will be put in next few years. That's what the way we look at it.
How do you look at the total capacity? If from say E20 to E30 we move towards that in the next couple of years, do you think the capacity is sufficient enough, or you need to set up more capacities which is there? And will the new capacities come in form of greenfield or brownfield?
Both. I think you are taking all the answers of my mind. Brownfield is also going to be a very big opportunity because, see, you know that sugar crushing or sugar season is seasonal, and it happens only 4 to 5 months in a year. Remaining 6-7 months, it is not being put to use. With modernization and with revamping of the capacity, we can make the assets squeeze throughout the year. That is the first step. That will also create an additional capacity. Then comes the question of greenfield. And then we are talking about so many other aspects into the ecosystem. So all things put together, I'm sure there will be a very exciting journey ahead.
Currently, sir, because you look at the industry very carefully, what is the kind of capacity utilization for existing ethanol plants? Are they running at full steam, and is there a need to augment those capacities?
There is a need to augment those capacities because they are almost very close to the full capacity very soon. Today, maybe they are at the rate of 70-80% of the rated capacity. And then you have to provide for season, availability of feedstocks, and all these things put together. We have to see to it that we are able to provide round the clock, round the year kind of production, which will come out of the additional revamping of the capacity or revamping or modernization, we call it, modernization of the current plants. And I'm sure that will definitely add to the overall value to the production or capacity creation. So it will happen in due course of time. And this is a very interesting activity which is taken shape. We can say the stable this thing. With stable policies, I'm sure they'll be able to provide all the things. In the past, the policies has been fluctuating quite a lot. And this 20% pause really has helped everybody to tighten the kind of capacity creation or capacity utilization. Meanwhile, technology is also helping to increase the production. It's also expecting or helping to bring down the cost. So all this having a cumulative effect so that we'll have a substantial capacity to reach E100, E85, and for that matter, even two-wheelers will be also accounted for.
So from a point of view of the capacities as well, do you see what kind of investments will be required to add additional capacity? Means over the last 10 to 15 years, companies have been adding capacities there. Now you will have more capacities as we move towards E85 and E100. What is the benchmark investment required for adding maybe 100,000 liters of capacity? And what kind of capacity addition, if it comes in, what kind of investment do you see coming in from the industry?
I don't have a crystal ball in front of me, but going by the straight line method or whatever it is, I can only see the considerable addition to the capacity, and this additional usage will definitely attract more and more investments. So this is see, if you take a benchmark of say U.S. industry or for that matter Brazilian industry, I'm sure they've gone through this cycle, and that will definitely keep on adding substantial capacity. Many dollars will be spent on this. I'll give a small example where co-products is also taking a lot of, for viability, co-products are must. We have got a, what we call as a, in grain-based plant, you have a DDGS, which is a cattle feed. So that is also taking a lot of requirement because the Indian standard of quality of life is improving, and this is definitely helping. The cattle feed needs to be producing higher quality of milk and so many milk-based products. Or we have got a, what we call as a oil, corn oil, which is also equally important. And one major sector, which is 3 times bigger than this, is still untapped, and that is the diesel sector. And we'll see a lot of cross fertilization of both the segments. Diesel, we already working on a few things, and I'm sure that will bring more and more demand for this diesel sector, which will add to the capacity. So this is I don't want to complicate the matter for you. In a simple language, the diesel is going to open up additional avenues.
Okay, and when do you see that happening, the blending for diesel? Because so far the blending is only for petrol. That will be the biggest, trigger for many of the companies as well, because diesel consumption is far more than from compared to petrol. So where are we on that from a technology point of view, and where are we on the blending point of view on that?
We hope to launch the diesel blend hopefully by around the year, around the end of the calendar year 26, beginning of 27. And I hope by the time government is establishing certain policy, policy framework is very important. Ultimately, this business is governed by OMCs, and they require a policy guidance. So all those things should happen in the year 27, and you'll see many activities taking shape in 27, whether it's a diesel blending or it is a improved version of ethanol, E85 or E100. And I'm sure the diesel also have a different kind of editions and versions going forward.
The other thing which is very interesting, which is coming in here, is the kind of technology which is required from an automobile's point of view. We have a couple of two-wheelers which are now on flexi fuel. Motorcycles have been launched there. What do you think is the biggest challenge at this point in time? Is it convincing the people that flexi fuel is good, or is it the infra for that? We saw something like when EV started off, infra was one of the major bottlenecks. Do you think distribution channels and distribution networks is required much before we start pushing out flexi fuel and E85 vehicles?
Yes, the dispensers have to be there, and then the dispensers have to be number of dispensers, because it is nationwide, so it is not in a pocket. If you say only is a Pune pocket, is one thing. With the all India basis, we require those kind of dispensers. So I think they are taking the steps to launch more dispenser for E85, more dispenser for flex fuel. All those things will happen, and there will be also a transition will be through the help of some kits, which will help take cognizance of this variation and these requirements. So it's going to be a very involved exercise from all the stakeholders, and fuel will become one of the point in the whole journey. There are a lot of things which are required apart from the fuel alone.
Dr. Chaudhary, Dr. Chaudhary, if you can also give us a sense of the kind of investments that we need to do to move to that, to achieve flex fuel and E100 infrastructure. What kind of is there a ballpark figure that you have in mind, or you have, since you are part of the industry, you know what kind of investment will be required from the infra point of view? How much of investment that do we need to do into it to push flex fuel into our markets?
See, I'm not sure about the costing of flex fuel dispensers. I mean, we are not in that business. So that is one part of it. then there will be a storage tanks required. So all those things is not our purview. We can only talk about technology of manufacturing flex fuel and related processing of raw materials. But other area investment, I'm not very sure how they are going to take shape, what funding will be taking place, and what is the number, ballpark numbers will emerge out of that. I think ultimately, it's Niti Aayog or somebody is working around those things, and I'm sure you'll find out from those stakeholders.
From a technology point, there is no roadblocks for production of flex fuels and E85 at this point in time?
Absolutely. There are two types of technology which are talking no roadblocks. One is the manufacturing and blending. The second part is the engine part. Engine, again, we are not expert in that side, but we are working closely hand in hand with the engine manufacturers and the users. And they got automotive research institutes there, and then they're also working on that. Oil companies are working on that. So there are many stakeholders involved. So it is a very involved exercise. And I think everybody has tightened the belt because one, the government has made a intention clear. I only one small concern or suggestion is that the benefit should be passed on to the consumers. That is one of our requests for quite some time. And if it doesn't, till then it remains as a challenge for many stakeholders. So if government can ensure that part, I don't know what is required there, but that will become a very important step. In some countries, they are doing that. If that can happen, it will be a wonderful part to ease out the path forward.
Interesting, sir. You spoke about the benefit of ethanol blending should be passed on to the consumers. We are at E20 and we are still not seeing that benefit getting passed on, though it replaces 3 to 4% of the total imports that we do annually. One of the reasons OMCs tell us is the kind of procurement cost that has been put in place for ethanols. The price of procurement, which has been fixed by government, is so high that it becomes very difficult to reduce the cost of the fuel. Do you agree with that?
No comments. It's a very tricky zone which you're asking me to enter. No, I'll not say. I'll just say that if you want to have a consumer on the board, we must give something to the consumer. Ultimately, the common man on the road is the consumer.
When we talk about flexi fuel, I think the government has indicated that the price of flexi fuel will be much lower than the petrol or diesel there. Do you think the kind of investment that is required initially to set up that, the kind of R&D that is required by the automobile companies and to set up the engines kind of thing, initial cost will have to be borne by the industry in order to push this product across to consumers?
Again, I really limited exposure on this side. I can't comment how or what is the balancing because oil marketing companies, the import of crude oil, the fluctuation, the oil pool, all those things are fairly interconnected. And again, we are not expert on that side. So I'll refrain from entering into that zone.
Can you also give us a sense of which are the companies that or segments which will benefit from this? Is it going to be distillers, sugar companies, grain processors, or auto manufacturers?
It will be the farmers, but that is the one thing where this push to this whole movement started way back in Bajpayee's time was the supporting the farming community. You know, the first trials were taken at the time of Bajpayee government. Then there was a little lull on this front, almost for 10 years. Then again, it started in, somewhere after the 2014-15. 17, they came out with the policy. So all these things have seen a lot of ups and downs. And to give a stable or steady kind of a scene, we have to ensure that we are passing on the benefit to the consumers and then all one by one other stakeholders. So that's the way it will help to stabilize the requirements.
Dr. Chaudhary, at Praj, you are leading one of the leading firms who looks at setting up these facilities there. What are the key challenges that you have faced and which are the new areas that you are getting into?
Well, we have got definitely bioeconomy is our major segment in which these biofuels do play a role. Biofuels along with the co-products valorization of co-products is very important. We are asking for carbon calculations, because ultimately it started as a carbon footprints calculation for which there are no benefits so far. The carbon credits is still not there on the scene. So all those things will definitely help to push this movement forward. There is one set of it. Having said that, the other part of the whole equation is the farming community getting the benefit from the raw material or the feedstock. They produce it. So similarly, it can be a value chain. Value chain has to be analyzed, and we have to see to it that all stakeholders of the value chain get some kind of a role to play. I mean, our role is very, very small compared to all others. But our job is to ensure that there are a lot of new development on technology front. For example, it is also opening what is called as the bioeconomy for bioproducts. You know, Government of India has launched Bio E3, energy, environment, and other aspects is to be taken into. So that also has to be kept in mind. And those things will also get eased out with the launch of these biofuels and bioenergy products. So they are it's a very involved. Nowadays, there's some attention being given to all these things. In fact, we have ourselves, privately, we have established 2-3 center of excellences, various parts attached to universities and all those things to promote these technical aspects, whether it's IIT Bombay or College of Engineering Pune or ICT in Mumbai. So we try to, in our area, whatever possible, we try to bring it to notice of because we need some talent also to be groomed for future this thing. So these are the few things which we feel are necessary.
Interesting, sir. I'm trying to come to the end of my discussion here. So just wanted to get your sense on, is the next ethanol cycle about volume growth or profitability?
Profitability for the consumer, yes, it has to be there. Otherwise, the whole cycle will break down. How far you can show danda and get it done? You require some initiative has to start from the users, and that will ensure a good consumption. If that happens, then industry will come forward with new innovations. Innovation is the backbone of all these things. I don't know if you've seen our R&D center in Pune. We spent a lot of effort before the whole movement became common. And I not talk about the second generation and third generation of technology, which will be further advantageous from the point of view of bioeconomy or bio products. All those things are low carbon intensity and use waste to wealth. So I think some other day I can talk to you all those things, sure.
And you see enough market for this, not only in India, but in overseas market as well?
Yes, very much. In fact, we are promoting biofuel. We are giving them the insights, inputs. I'll just give a couple of examples. Colombia's almost 80-90% program is based on Praj technology. If you come in to think of any African countries, something similar things are happening. Now, Government of India has thought on those lines. They have Global Biofuel Alliance. They have formed. It is yet to take off completely, but I'm sure that these are the steps in the right direction that we'll have more and more say in the global this thing. And India can be a flag bearer for these developments. And Praj will have a critical role to play in this scenario.
Dr. Chaudhary, it was a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you very much for joining us on Deep Dive today.
Yeah, pleasure talking to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.